Hi, this is Rich Jackson. I've been a gadget guy for as long as I can remember, um, starting as a kid, um, and I've managed to uh, make a career out of playing with things that I thoroughly enjoy, primarily in the control audio video space. Um, Earlier this week, I saw a mention in a post regarding first generation iPod. iPod was originally introduced in, I think, the fall of 2001. And the um, first iPod is the M8541 with a whopping 5 gigabyte drive, and of which at that juncture, I think the premise was to be able to store 1,000 songs at 160 kilobits per second, which is fairly compressed. So it made me realize that I hold on to just about everything. I mean, I've got video cards when I was building PCs years ago. I still have NVIDIA video cards. I've got all sorts of cables. I have DB9s, DB30s. I have a bunch of stuff. So I went down and rummaged through my old stuff, and lo and behold, I found the iPod, and I was pretty excited. And I took a look at it, and I realized that when the original iPod, the first generation, used not the 30-pin connector that they went to Gen 2, but it actually used FireWire, of which they had FireWire 400 and FireWire 600, a 4-pin connection and a 6-pin connection. And I brought the iPod upstairs, and I had forgotten that. And you'll see the connector is, as you're viewing, is on the far right. The center is a stereo mini plug, and then to the left is an off-on switch. So I managed to find a FireWire 600 to a FireWire 600, and I went on Amazon and bought a little dongle FireWire to USB because I don't have, or I didn't think I had, the FireWire charger. So I was hoping to charge it via USB. I tried that. It didn't work. I'm not sure if it's applicable for a transfer of data, but I didn't try that. So I rummaged some more, and I found my original charger that came with the iPod first generation. And indeed, it has the FireWire 600 connector on it. I plugged in the power supply, or the power adapter, and all of a sudden the iPod started charging. And it took about 3-4 hours for it to fully charge. And I did that 2 days ago, and it's held the charge very nicely, which is pretty amazing for a battery to have that kind of memory and endurance. So I now have a functional iPod. This is the original screen, of which is playlists, different settings, reset. I can't really read it all that well, but the short of it is that it's functional. I will now go to browse. I'll browse artists, and I'm not not sure how many artists I have on here, but I have quite a few. So I now have a functioning iPod, and I also got a USB dongle, which is kind of cool because you can set it to transmit or to receive, which I kind of like. So I would then be able to stream this through. All my audio systems have Bluetooth receivers, external Bluetooth receivers, because the gear that I have is pretty much dedicated to channel, and Bluetooth really, at least with the really high-end manufacturers, has not been readily adopted. That will change as Bluetooth evolves. I think Bluetooth 5 is, from a sonic standpoint, pretty good and has good distance. So I found an old pair of headphones using the stereo mini plug, and lo and behold, and I'll probably start yelling now because I can't hear anything. And now listening to Loggins and Messina, which will date me somewhat. It sounds actually very good, especially considering that we're going back 22 years. So anyway, that is, as I turn this down, remove these guys. It was a very pleasant trip down memory lane. It just makes me realize how far Apple has evolved from the iPod, because the iPod then morphed into a music player with a telephone, and I have iPhone mini, iPhone 13, and this is much more powerful with much greater storage than my first Mac, which was a Quadra 605 that I bought, I don't know, probably 1995, something like that. I originally had a PC Tandy, but that was a long time ago. So anyway, that is my iPod story. I had an opportunity to meet and work with the Apple engineer that was the project manager for this. He built a very nice home in Truckee, of which I'm a manufacturer's rep, and I was fortunate to where he used a number of the products I represented in his home. And I had an opportunity to hear his keynote and an opportunity to briefly meet him. His name is Tony Fadell, who then started Nest, and Google bought Nest for 3.2 billion. He's my kind of guy. So anyway, that is my iPod story.